Hey YouTube, what's going on? Abyssal here, and today before I start the video, I'd just like to preface this by saying there is a straw poll down in the description below. I'd appreciate it if you voted on that. You don't have to, but I do really appreciate it because it helps me decide on what I want to do going forward with the kind of content. Do I want to do just Death Knight, or do I want to do general and Death Knight? That kind of stuff. But let's get into the video. I'm going to be talking about a hotfix that came in last night, and that is the Concordance of the Legionfall got heavily buffed. Now, before last night, the day before, on Monday night we saw a huge nerf to the artifact knowledge cap, going from 50 to 40. Now, this buff to Concordance kind of works against that nerf. That nerf obviously caps us out at 4 million% AP gain overall. So right now we're at 37. I think everyone should be at around 37 if you started on the first day, or we're at the point where if you started even 2 days after, you should still be at 37 right now. So you're experiencing a 1.8 million% AP gain, and we're going to be capped out at 4 million. So this buff to Concordance, which I'm going to put on the screen, the tweet talking about it by Warcraft devs, it's buffed to 4,000% proc. 4,000 proc of the main stats. So, and if you're a tank, versatility, obviously. So for me personally, as a Death Knight, I'm going to get a 4,000 strength proc, and for each rank after that, it used to be 200, now it's 300. That is enormous. That's really big. The problem with this trait, for me, my personal opinion on it, was I felt that it was quite weak for the amount of grind after 52. So every point after, I was getting a 200 stacking strength proc. So the initial Concordance for me personally was about a 20 to 30,000 single target DPS increase. You may say that's not that much. It's really not that much for the amount of work you needed to put in to get it at the time. You really needed to go out of your way in order to do a lot of grinding in order to get that trait. Now, at around 37 to 38 artifact knowledge, you should be able to get it by just doing your world quests. And even at around 36, you do all your world quests, your emissaries, and your raiding, you should be able to get it pretty comfortably. Elite Strike missions give a lot, so it was not unreasonable to get Concordance. The problem with Concordance is the proc rate was super low. This is such a big problem for me with procs, is that when they're so strong and they have such a low proc rate, like I'm going to show on screen right now. This is my boy Odie in our raid. He has Concordance. I don't have Concordance right now. I just got it today. I didn't have it yesterday, so I can't really show my proc rate of Concordance, but he is a rogue, and his Concordance proc rate last night on Croesus, a 4.5 minute fight, was 18.61%. That seems a little bit low. He had as much uptime on that as he did Potion of Old War. So for me, that seems kind of low. That's a lower uptime on that than Pillar of Frost. I just find that to be quite insane. So they did also state with Concordance buff that it is, I'm going to show that tweet on the screen right now. So they did increase it, but they said slightly. So I don't know if that's going to be a huge increase. I don't know if it's going to be super noticeable, but a slight increase on a 20% proc rate is pretty nice. Even if it goes up to 25 to 30%, that's still super nice, because that being now 4,000 main stat, it's going to be incredibly strong. For it before being a 20 to 30k DPS increase, you can imagine what it's going to be now. Doubling the effectiveness of it, it should be, 40 to 60,000, right? Well, we'll see about that. So with the increase of proc rate, it should be even higher. Now, there's also a nerf to it in PvP. So what they did with PvP is they kept it at 2,000, so no nerf there. But what they did is every increasing rank after that, the effectiveness in PvP, it increases by 150 instead of the 300 it is for PvE. So you PvPers are not going to have this crazy strong 4k plus 300 for every rank. You're going to have 2k plus 150 for every rank. Now, I personally, as someone who casually PvPs for their daily battleground and stuff like that, I don't see that as a big deal because it was already really strong, so why make it super strong for PvP? You're just going to be rewarding people who grind non-stop. Makes it harder, especially in a player versus player scenario, to compete with people who have really high ranks of Concordance. So actually nerfing it per rank is pretty nice because they'll still have an advantage. They just won't have a huge advantage. And I like that. I like how in PvP, it's a little more fair and balanced. And it's hard to balance artifact traits in PvP because people can just sit there, they can just grind Mythic Plus, they can grind arenas, whatever gives them the best AP, I believe it's still Mythic Plus, and then they'll just stomp people in PvP. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. And it's the reason I think they cut off the previous Paragon trait that we had, the one that just stacked damage. They kind of cut that off later. They realized, wow, this is just way too strong. We can't let this continue because people are getting stomped by people with 54 traits. It's crazy. But in PvE, I really like this buff. I feel like it's going to make it actually worthwhile. The disappointing thing about it is we're now capped at 40 artifact knowledge. I know I made the video talking about how I liked that change. With this buff, I don't like it anymore because it's so strong now. It's so goddamn strong. Plus 300 per rank. Are you fucking serious? Like, that's insane. That is fucking nuts. Like, if I'm at, what, 62 traits, this proc for me is going to be 7,000 main stat. Are you serious? That's huge for 62. Well, I'm probably not going to be able to get past 62. I'm going to need to do 100 Mythic Pluses in order to do that. That's fucking ridiculous. Like, why would I want to sit there and do 100 for... Oh, God, it's so valuable, but it just doesn't seem like a smart decision to cut off our artifact knowledge, but then buff what we needed that artifact knowledge for. We needed it to push our convergence higher. And I thought, a convergence isn't super valuable with 2k main stat and 200 on top of that, so I was okay with the artifact knowledge nerf. That's okay for me. But now with this, it's just... It seems like they should honestly go back on that artifact knowledge cap. It needs to be higher now because it's possible to get to... It's possible to get to 102 or 101 traits, whatever the cap is, with Artifact 50. With 40, I think Murgle did a video on that. It would take 176 years in order to get capped out at Artifact Knowledge 40. Are you fucking serious? So people are basically going to be getting to like 70 max, and then just... they're going to see that number and be, oh my God, I can't do that. I don't have enough time in my fucking life in order to grind that out. So it makes no sense to me that they would put the cap and then put this buff in. But I guess we're going to see how this pans out. I know they're trying to balance everything for Tomb, but they really messed up with artifact trait balancing. I know this is new for them, this kind of system, but they really needed to test this a little bit more because they need to expect that players are going to grind non-stop. You gotta expect the hardcore community to really push the limits, and you need to build the game not only around the casual players who are steadily grinding, but you gotta build it around the players who are just going hard from the beginning non-stop. You really have to take into account both sides and every medium in between. So I hope you guys enjoyed my perspective in this video. Tell me what you guys think about this nerf down in the comments below. Make sure to vote on the Strawpoll, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one. See you later.